As we prep our PW50 for our first race coming up this weekend, one of the things that this bike lacks on as far as track worthiness is the factory rubber foot pegs. When you start getting out on the track, especially with a little rider, trying to teach them to ride on the balls of their feet is kind of tough when the foot pegs are round. So what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade to these IMS PW50 specific foot pegs. These are the higher quality ones. There's some kind of cheaper ones that are out there on some stores. I mean, they're just metal foot pegs, so I don't see what the huge difference would be, but we went with the name brand. It seemed pretty high quality. They're pretty heavy. If you're interested in these for your bike, the part number is 56-2277, and they're called IMS Superstock foot pegs. And it's for the PW50 all versions, PW80 all versions, and TW200 from 87 to 16. So let's get these installed. It looks like a really easy process, and we'll have our new foot pegs on and we'll show you how they work. Here's a good look at the stock foot peg on the PW50. It's just a simple rubber covered metal foot peg. Of course, they bend back and up so you don't catch your foot on them. The biggest problem of them really is that they're round, so the foot will pivot on them instead of it being a flat platform, which can assist in holding the foot straight and helping the little rider learn how to ride on the balls of their feet. So let's start by taking the cotter pin out of the bottom side of the pin. Once it gets to the top of that hole, you can just pull it right out. Next step is to push the pin out far enough to be able to grab it and remove it from the mount for the peg. And once the peg is removed, you'll see there's a spring. Take note of where that spring is, because this is what controls the action of the foot peg itself. Looks like there's a little slot on the top that it needs to hook into. And then the pin will go straight through the spring, and it'll keep your foot pegs pointed down. Here we get a good look at the stock foot peg versus the IMS foot peg. Clearly there's a huge difference here. The camera's not playing any tricks. The IMS foot peg is nearly twice the size, twice the footprint. The purpose of the larger foot peg is to try to teach the rider how to ride on the balls of their feet. With the stock foot peg, there's a lot of pivot point. They can be up here, then their heels are going down too easy. They can be in the middle and their toes going down too easy. There's too much of a pivot point. It's like trying to stand on a log. The IMS foot peg, even if you're standing in the middle, it's like standing on a board. You're not going to pivot as much as if you're standing on a log. So ideally they want to be right here, riding on the balls of their feet, which should be a lot easier for them to do with the wider foot peg. This is going to be the trickiest part of this install, because you have to do a balancing act with getting the spring where it needs to be and the peg where it needs to be and lined up. What I'm going to do is hold this spring with a vice grip here, just to kind of keep it in place while I try and line up the peg. Of course, the pin goes from the top down. The last step is to locate your hole in the pin and take your cotter pin which at this point is probably going to be bent. So try to straighten that out as much as you can. You just take the one side of the cotter pin and wrap it up. Press it tight against the pin that you're wrapping it around. And you can wrap the other side if you want, but one side is necessary. The whole purpose is so this pin can't be backed out. And once you have that on, you're complete. So here we have the completed, installed IMS PW50 foot peg. It's a much bigger foot peg. It's so big it almost looks comical, but when you have a little rider that's struggling to find foot placement and grip with these tiny little boots, it makes a huge difference. And you can essentially balance the boot right on the peg. It's so wide. My little guy is 3, so this is pretty important for him. And I don't want him slipping off, and I also want him to learn proper foot placement, i.e. balls of the feet. So very easy upgrade, very well worth it in my opinion, and we'll check out how it does in the race this weekend.